You know, we have this idea that healing is all about fixing something that's broken inside of us. But what if that's not the whole picture? Well, today, we're going to dive into exactly that. A tale of two very different toolboxes for mental health. We've got the one we all know, the one that's been around for decades, and then there's this new one, an emerging approach that kind of flips the script on everything.
Just let that sink in for a minute. This one idea, it's pretty much the dividing line in the story we're telling today. It's this shift from thinking about healing as repair to thinking about it as remembering. And man, does that challenge the story we've been told by psychology for like the last 100 years.
All right, so our story really kicks off with something a lot of people can relate to. Getting a label. A diagnosis, it's supposed to be helpful, or roadmap even. But it can have some pretty serious side effects that we don't always talk about.
So, let me ask you, is there a real difference between saying, I am depressed and I have depression? I mean, it seems like such a tiny detail, right? Just a grammar thing. But it is a world of difference. One is about who you are, your identity. The other, it's about an experience you're going through. And that little shift, that's the core of everything we're going to get into today.
And that right there is the heart of the problem. Think about it. Labels like depression, anxiety, BPD, they were created for a good reason, right? To give doctors and therapists a common language, super important for research, for insurance, all that stuff. But somewhere along the way, what was meant to just describe a bunch of symptoms, well, it turned into something that defines a person. It can lock you into this identity of being broken, permanently.
Okay, so this leads us to the first toolbox in our story. This is the one you probably heard of. It's the establishment, the gold standard approach. And it's built on a really specific way of looking at human suffering.
And look, let's be super clear about this. We're talking about therapies like CBT and DBT. These things are absolutely life-saving. I mean, there's a mountain of solid evidence behind them, and they've helped millions and millions of people, no question. They are the heavy-duty power tools in the toolbox we have now, and we are not knocking their importance, one bit.
But here's where it gets really interesting. You can boil down the entire philosophical difference to the question you start with. The traditional model, the one that's the foundation for CBT and DBT, it basically starts by asking, what is wrong with you, right? The goal is to find the problem, the deficit. But then there's this other approach that asks a totally different question. What happened to you?
So with this first toolbox, the goals are really straightforward and honestly effective. It's all about 1. Identifying the pathology. What's the disorder? 2. Managing the symptoms that come along with it. 3. Correcting what are seen as faulty or distorted ways of thinking. And 4. Building up coping skills to handle it all. See the pattern? The whole focus is on managing what's wrong.
Okay, so now let's talk about that other toolbox. And this one doesn't just want to add a new screwdriver to the kit. No, it's proposing a whole new workshop, built from a completely different set of blueprints.
Yeah, this quote just nails it. The ambition here is huge. We're not talking about just another technique for managing symptoms. This is a fundamental, ground-up shift in how we even see the person who comes in for help. The starting point isn't brokenness. The starting assumption is wholeness.
Okay, get ready, because this is the big, radical idea at the core of this new toolbox. What if things like anxiety, depression, even rage, what if they aren't signs that your brain is broken? What if instead they are brilliant, intelligent survival strategies that your body and your brain developed to get you through something totally overwhelming? They were genius strategies at the time, but now the situation is over and those old strategies are causing pain.
And this isn't just some feel-good philosophy. This is grounded in cold, hard science. I'm talking about neuroplasticity. We now know for a fact that our brains are not set in stone. They can and do change. So yeah, traumatic experiences can rewire the brain to be on high alert all the time. But, and this is the amazing part, healing experiences can literally rewire it back. Therapy, mindfulness, feeling safe with people, it all changes the physical structure of your brain. So change isn't just a nice idea, it's your biological reality.
So the Unity method organizes this whole process around 5 key pillars. First, there's wholeness over wounding. That's the core idea that you are already complete.
Then there's somatic restoration, which is all about working with the body, because that's where we store our experiences. Third is relational repatterning, basically relearning how to connect with others in a healthy way. Fourth, you've got neuroplastic empowerment, which is teaching you the science of how your own brain can change. And finally, and this is a big one, acceptance over forgiveness. It's about accepting what happened, which is a whole different ballgame than having to forgive.
So, theories are great, but the best way to really get the difference between these two toolboxes is to see them in action. Let's take a look at the same person through two totally different lenses.
Okay, so first up, the traditional pathology lens. We meet Sarah. She's 27. Her diagnosis, borderline personality disorder. You look at her chart, and it's full of words like emotionally unstable, resistant to treatment. Her entire identity has become her diagnosis.
Now, in therapies like DBT, Sarah definitely learned some really valuable skills. She got better at managing her super intense emotions. But, and this is a big but, she walked away feeling like she was just a problem to be managed. Her own words really say it all. She felt like she was seen as fundamentally broken, just a borderline that needed fixing.
All right, now let's switch lenses. Let's look at the exact same person through the Unity lens. In this view, she's not a borderline. She's Sarah, a whole person. And that emotional intensity? That's seen as a brilliant survival strategy that she learned because of a history of abandonment. Instantly, the focus shifts away from her problem and onto her story, and frankly, her strength.
And here it is. This is the transformation. It's about reframing your own story. Her intensity isn't a symptom of a disorder anymore. It's proof of how hard she's willing to fight for love and connection. The whole narrative just flips from brokenness to incredible resilience.
So you might be thinking, okay, this is interesting for therapy, but what about the rest of us? Well, this matters for everyone, even if you never step foot in a therapy room, because a shift this big changes how we talk about mental health everywhere, at home, at work, in our entire culture.
Let's just break it down one last time, side by side. With CBT and DBT, the view of the client starts with pathology. The goal is symptom management, and the final identity can sometimes feel like a patient who's good at coping. With the Unity method, the view of the client starts with wholeness. The goal is to restore that feeling of wholeness. And the final identity? A resilient, whole person. It's a subtle but powerful difference.
And that brings us full circle, right back to that first big question. What if healing has never been about fixing something broken? What if it's always been about remembering what was already whole to begin with? This isn't just about therapy, you know? It's about how we see ourselves and how we see each other. It's this idea that underneath all the layers of pain and all the survival strategies we've built, there's a core of wholeness just waiting for us. I mean, just think, what would change for you, for all of us, if we really truly believed that?